FNN, Fast Car News Network. In this short video, I expose the animal kingdom. In this case, the myth that a silverback gorilla, actually they say gorillas in general, but this is not the case, is 10 to 20 times stronger than a human. Now, a while ago, we're near the end of 2025, just a couple of months ago, there was this big internet thing going around. How many people or celebrities would it take to fight and kill a gorilla? Like, could 100 prime Mike Tysons beat a gorilla? Or Shaq or John Cena? I'm sure you remember. Depending who you talk to and where your research leads, the finest example, the giants, the big boys of the gorilla community, silverback, adult males, they will get as tall as 6'5" and over 500 pounds. Some of that is fat. These are zoo kept. But about 400 in shape in the wild at about 6'5". These are big boys. Pictures that you see and videos on YouTube don't do them justice. In my world travels and United States travels, I've gone to many a zoo, as it's something I like doing, and I have seen gorillas in captivity, from average silverbacks, and one in particular that I remember that had beef with me, that didn't like that I was 6'9", 320 jacked. In fact, all the gorillas came over to me. There was a lot of pictures taken and film of this, and showed me respect. They thought, although white and blonde and blue, that I was the new alpha because I was bigger than their main man, who really, really wanted to fight me. If that protective glass wasn't there, he would have come in. He would have stormed me, and it wouldn't have been good. Some of you know about my obsession with gorillas. Monkey-type creatures' strength drives me bananas, and their athleticism. But this whole thing about they are 10 to 20 times stronger than a human, I found this ridiculous from day one, and I still find it ridiculous. So you're telling me if a man benches 200 pounds, a gorilla does 2,000 to 4,000? I don't think so. Do I think they're strong? Yes. Are they stronger than humans pound for pound? Yes. Are they stronger than juiced up, for those of you that know things, on Anadrol 2902's Tren is popular these days, and all the goodies that people take online? Are they stronger than those guys? I don't know if they're squatting and deadlifting more. Maybe. Could you take Eddie Hall at his peak, or Thor, or any world's strongest man? Is a gorilla stronger than 20 of those? Or 10? No. No, they're not. In this video, now I will say, this is a strange angle, the perspective I'm talking about, but this is not in the wild, this would not be a pack-leading alpha prime example of a silverback gorilla. I don't know if this one's a midget or a baby, but this is not a 6 foot to 6'5". This is not even a 5'10", 300 to 400 pound monster. This is a much smaller gorilla. I'm going to say that in advance. Again, there is a perspective here due to the angle of this shot, for those of you that know what that means. It means due to this angle and some other factors, he's going to look smaller than these people due to the proximity of the lens. If this was shot the reverse with the camera here, the gorilla would look bigger. Regardless, this is not a gigantic gorilla. For all I know, this could be the equivalent to a 14-year-old human. Do you understand? This is not a 30-year-old. Exactly. I'm not doing questions, chat. That said, they're having a little tug of war in this video. This is not optimally set up for the humans. Really, just, I don't know if this is a woman or a really weird dude. These are not in shape, gym going jack people. These are fat, elderly couch potatoes. This is either a woman or a very small man. This guy essentially is half-ass pulling with his left arm. So if he's a righty, this may not be too good, right? You could see that the gorilla has his foot braced up against this structure. And there's a little bit of a hill here, which helps in this angle as well. It's a slight mechanical advantage here. This guy has two hands, but is useless. This guy has about one hand, and this dude you can't quite see yet has, I mean, he's as half-assing it as you get. I'm going to say that altogether, these four people, I don't even think they equal one fast car. What I'm saying is this is not the peak of humanity. You understand? And mechanically, this rope needs to be much longer, and these people with two hands on the rope, this is a terrible setup here, for a scientific test. But this is more of just a fun, goofy thing. I must say, the fact that a gorilla with very long arms could reach his arm, a prime example, a big one of these, he could reach easily to out here. And one-handed, if that grabs your arm, wrist, bicep, face, it's over. That's a fact. Yes, chat is going crazy with a lot of questions. So what happens in this video? Well, let me turn the sound down. Let's watch. Instantly, half-assing it, doing this wrong. The people are overpowering the gorilla. Now, I will say, they didn't just rip this out of his hands. He still has a firm grasp. I'm quite sure there's a knot at the end of this. I don't think that this just terminates into rope. I'm sure there's a knot, even though you can't see it, which mechanically is an advantage. Now, half-assing it, these fat, untrained older people have overpowered a gorilla, and this is something gorillas are good at. Look at the size, even as a midget, of this thing's bicep. Yeah, there's a little bit of hair. That's a 25, 30-inch gun right there. I suspect this is taller than it looks, again, due to the angle of parallax, the perspective. If this was shot differently, I think he would look bigger. But again, this is not, the Kongzilla of gorillas. But a couple of chumps, and possibly a woman, half-assing it, have overpowered the gorilla. Are they 10 to 20 times stronger than a human? No. This thing has the advantage of much bigger hands, surface area, getting a better grasp on the rope. I mean, you could see his hands compared to this little dummy here. All of these people. This is quite an advantage. And again, I'm quite sure there's a knot at the end, which is a huge advantage. If he had to just free grab this slippery rope, this would have been very different. I think they would have pulled the rope out of his hands. So that said, they've overpowered this gorilla, which makes me think that, Eddie Hall, what you know as Thor, the Mountain, and other top strongmen, Mariusz Pudzianowski, the list goes on. In this particular show of strength, I think they would have won. Now, I could get very technical into some things about monkey and gorilla type creatures, most which would go over all of your heads. Of course, a 6'5", 600 pound gorilla is going to be stronger than the average human, right? But it's not just that. They have different energy systems than humans. I'm going to be really basic here. And the way their muscles are attached, it's not like ours. They are way stronger than us. If a gorilla was whoever you are, your size, he would be way, way, way stronger than you in some movements. Now, when they say gorillas are 10 to 20 times stronger than a human, do you think these calves, even though the muscle attachments are better and they have better energy systems, etc., you think he's calf raising 10,000 pounds? No. Yes, these arms to shoulders to back pulling, because this is what monkeys and gorillas do. They swing around from shit, they use their upper body. Okay, chat's going absolutely crazy. So I don't think that they are. It's also a weird thing to say a gorilla is 10 to 20 times stronger than a human. What human? Your 14-year-old sister, a singer from K-pop? Or the mountain when he's, 6'9", near 500 pounds? You think a gorilla is stronger than 10 to 20 of those? I don't think so. But it's definitely stronger than one on one, believe me. Keep in mind, gorillas, they're not trained or juiced up. These are just free roaming, monkey life living creatures. Now, if you took some of the bigger silverback gorillas and taught them to work out and gave them weights, since they were, let's say, equivalent to humans, 12 years old, and let them work out till they were, let's say, 25 years old, well, then we're really, if you taught a gorilla jujitsu, dear God, this would be brutal. This is why the military does this. And the same thing with the big feet. Now, you don't want me to be talking about big feet and tell you what I know. Yes, I did have an encounter, and I was on a TV show called Finding Bigfoot, and I was also on their podcast. This was years ago. A guy named Cliff Burton and Bobo. He was near my size. He was up there. He was a big dude. Fat, but he was tall. I don't know how tall, but he was. I didn't look too far down to see him. Bobo was a big dude. All right, a couple of chat questions. I am curious, how strong is a Bigfoot? Well, I don't want to go too far into this because this is something I could talk about for an hour or two. There is different versions of big feet. This type of creature, they are real. They are all over the world under different names, and they're different sizes. Like the orang pendek, most of you have never heard of that. Some may have heard of the white ones called yetis in the mountains. We know them as big feet or Sasquatch in the western United States, mostly northwestern and in Canada, but they're in most states in the United States. When you hear about the Jersey Devil, and Ohio has the Grass Man, and Florida has the skunk ape, maybe some of you know about this, some don't, but all of these states have these monsters. These are Bigfoot creatures. Uh, so yes, they are different sizes. They're all over the place. For whatever reason, could be the habitat. The ones on the west coast of the United States and Canada, I guess southwest mostly, but all over, they seem to be the biggest variety, physically the most weight and the tallest. upwards of 10 foot and maybe 1,200 pounds or a little bit more. In general, they get smaller elsewhere, but they are in jungles and other places. Well, I could tell you where they came from, but I'm not going to get into that here. But I know the whole story of how these Sasquatch, the big feets, especially the ones in the northwest of America, I know exactly where they come from. We know exactly. There are labs by big corporations and the military where these creatures are studied, and I'll keep my mouth shut after that part in this video. We do have these in captivity. Why is it so hard in wait, why is it so hard in 2025 to get pictures of a big feet? This is actually quite an easy question. These creatures are not humans. They live, so we'll talk in this exact case about the ones, let's just say, in the northwest of the Americas, or in Canada, west side. West side? You can't relate humans to animals. What I mean by that is animals have superior attributes to us, in some cases tremendously. There are, for example, the common dog that you could just buy at a pet store. They can smell somewhere between hundreds and millions of times more than a human can. They can even smell diseases and cancers and a whole host of medical issues in humans. If your dog is sniffing around your legs or feet or licking weird areas continuously, he probably found something. This is why they use dogs to track people, bloodhounds, and quite a few varieties of dogs. They can, in the same way that you can watch something with your eyes and track it, they can track by smell. Humans don't have this. There are creatures with way better eyesight than us. 2, 3, 5, 10, 100 times better sight than humans. We really got skunked. There are creatures, obviously, that are much faster than us, that are stronger, that can jump 10 times higher. If they brought animals into the Olympics, we would lose every event. By far, by leaps and bounds. They would double or triple our best efforts, even on performance-enhancing drugs. We have no chance. Yes, I'm going somewhere with this. These creatures, the big feets, are acclimated to the woods. They live in the woods. They don't go in the city. They're not in your house. They are in the woods. They are familiar with wood smells and deep woods. Now, don't say, oh, I got a half an acre and some trees. I can go in the woods. No, we are talking deep, deep, deep woods for hundreds, thousands of miles where there's nothing. There's no stores. There's no malls. Most of you have probably never been in a deep, deep forest before. It's a crazy thing that could drive humans nuts. Anyway, they have far superior senses to us. Now, here's another thing most of you probably don't know. Many animals don't just see in the way humans see. They can see much more vibrant colors. They can hear higher and lower than us. For example, a dog whistle. You can blow a dog whistle, and we don't hear anything, but it drives dogs crazy. We just don't have the right. We don't have the band that we can recognize. Our sensors are not as good as animals. Our vision is quite crappy compared to most of the animal kingdom. We can't see as many frequencies. Most people can't wrap their head around that, but there are things that are invisible to us that animals can see. Some animals don't just see like us in this particular picture, but they can see heat. For example, snake-type creatures. Right. They can see infrared, for example. Yes, heat vision. And it's not just snake creatures, it's other things that we don't even know. Do you know how many species of animals there are? We have no idea the capability of these things. There are some creatures that can see ultraviolet. Yes, like black lights that we can't see. Our sensors, our eyes are just not that good, sadly. We got the shaft with everything outside of that brain. Why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you all this because number one, these big feet creatures live in the woods. They're used to wood sounds and smells. When you come stumbling into their environment, you probably took a shower and you have soap smell on you and you have water with all our weird minerals and additives and drugs. If you knew what was in your tap water, you'd probably never drink it again. And they probably have aftershave on and product in their hair and deodorant and human smells. They know all the wood smells, none of which are human. When you walk in and the wind blows, they can probably smell 10, 20, 50, or thousands of times better than us. And when you're a big feet or a big feet family and you go, what the fuck is that smell? You're going to go investigate. Now, these are territorial creatures. They like to know what's in their hood and they don't like strangers, right? Now, in most places, certainly in the West Coast, you're going to be the top dog outside of maybe a moose. There's some cat creatures and stuff, but these are small. And there's still a little bit more to this that I can get into. Outside of a fully grown moose, which they may not want to tangle with the big feet. This is a fight Fazcar would like to see. I would pay a pay-per-view to see a moose in rut, for those that know what that is, versus a large alpha big feet. But anyway, going back to the sensors, they can probably smell you from many, many miles away. And now they stink terribly. I'm not going to go into that in this vid, but they have an awful aroma that is in a huge radius. If that wind is blowing, you can smell them from a while, but far away, but not as far as they can smell you. Number two, their hearing is way better than ours. Yeah, because quite a few of you asked, why is there no pictures? Quite a few people said, yeah, he's going to say you're reading from a script. Quite a few of you said, everybody has a effing cell phone. Well, this is true. But I'll get into that in a second. And yes, there's obviously some hunters out here and outdoorsmen. Dude, do you know how many camera traps are all over the woods and where it borders, let's call deep human woods and the real woods? There's camera traps, lines of them, dozens, hundreds. You're not wrong. I'll address that in a second. They can hear you and smell you. They also have better vision. And many creatures can see in infrared and ultraviolet, even four-legged things. I'll just say something like a gazelle to give you something to wrap your head around. Why does that matter? Well, many of these camera traps that people are talking about, these trail cams, they have a sensor in them, and by the way, when these cameras are on to a human, they're silent. But there's electronic noises being made internally we can't pick up, but that doesn't mean animals can't hear them. Now, if you're used to woods sounds, right, and then all of a sudden you hear right, it would be like someone, you're in the middle of nowhere and someone's laying on a car horn. That's what this sounds like to them. And they walk up creeping at a safe distance. Now we're at night and we have these cameras, and if something comes within range, they have an infrared light, for example, that's on, that illuminates the creature, and then it snaps a picture. Well, what if they can see infrared and ultraviolet? So they can see this giant fucking flashlight in the middle of the dark woods, and they don't, and it's going, ee! They're not going to go anywhere near it. This is why. Plus, how many people, look, these things are sniper level of camouflage. They are used to hiding. When you see legit videos, by the way, the number one guy on the planet about Bigfoot is a guy named Thinker Thunker. We know about him in the government. He's very well known. Look up Thinker Thunker, find his videos, and he has done research, written books. This guy's not a phony, and he's very smart, and he's very smart. Shout out to Thinker Thunker. The guy is brilliant. In fact, he's brilliant. I'm not going to go more into him. So this is why there's not pictures, but how many people are in the deep, deep woods? Listen, most of the big feets, they don't live on the edge of a meadow where it just starts turning into the forest where humans go. They don't live there. They live deep, hundreds, thousands of miles into these woods. Exactly. And it's not like they have a huge population. Like, how many of you could say, you know, you were swimming in the ocean and you came across a pod of sperm whales? Yeah, someone might say, I booked a trip to Hawaii, and where they're known to feed or nurse, and it's a very rare thing. You know what I mean? And it was a whale expedition and we saw them. Yeah. Look, I spent my whole life, summers, grew up in South Florida, Miami, Pompano Beach, Fort Lauderdale area, where I would spend 3 to 5 months from when I was a baby all the way into my mid-20s. I spent my whole summers being athletic. I was in the ocean continuously, scuba, snorkel, and just swimming around like an asshole. You want to know how many whales that I saw in the ocean? Zero of any variety. Did see a few sharks. Point being, this is huge areas, and sometimes these things stay away from you. Right, these are not aggressive. Now, for all we know, they might not want anything to do with humans. Now, I could talk about how they were created and by who and why, some things that happened in the past and some treaties that you never heard of. But without going into that, they don't really want anything to do with us. So these guys that go into the woods and with a stick and they knock on trees because this is something Bigfoots do. The chance that you will, let's say there's one every 1,000-mile radius. You think you're going to walk in there, especially at night when you can't see them, and they're masters at camouflage. You think you're going to just see one, you know, at a picnic table eating his night meal, and you're going to take your camera out. Hey, can you pose for me for a selfie? Yeah, it doesn't work that way. This is why there's no pictures. They hear you, they smell you, they can see you from miles away. They know to take the high ground. They're very well adapted to their environment. Number one. And number two, why don't you, going back to the original question, why is there not photos? Well, most likely, if you're some bumbling idiot and bumps into one of these, or if you're some I don't know what you would call them, Bigfooters. There's groups of these people. I don't know how many, but I know it's fairly big. If you're one of these Bigfooters that goes into the woods actively trying to find them, right. But let's say you're just a camper, a hiker, and you, one in a million, bump into a Bigfoot up close. Somehow there's noise, maybe there's wind or rain, and this thing is hungry, maybe not paying attention, maybe he's gathering food or making a kill. They're very commonly at water getting sea creatures and various vegetations that grow in and near water. Just the stars align and you actually manage to sneak up on one. Well, I got bad news. Like most creatures in the wild, it is way more athletic than you. And unless you're an Olympic sprinter, which wouldn't matter anyway, it doesn't matter if you're Usain Bolt. These things have been clocked at about 40 mile an hour. Most animals are faster than us. Even huge fat bears are faster than humans, and they can maintain that speed. And don't get me started on cats and other things. Just about everything is faster than us. Exactly. So you're not going to outrun it. Number two, you're not on a track in track shoes ready to go. You're not warmed up. You turn a corner or go around a big tree, and there's a 10-foot, 1,200-pound hulking 100 times the testosterone of a human standing there. Do you think you're going to fight your way out? Do you think, number one, do you think you're going to outrun them? You can't go up a tree because he can do that way better than you can. You're not going to flat outrun them. They can jump 30, 40 feet. Just jump like superheroes. If the hand, let's not even go at an alpha, really good, like a fast car daddy version of a big feet. Let's go with an average one that's 8 foot, way bigger than Shaq. Let's say 750 pounds. Let's say it's not even an adult. It would be like a teenager human. 8 foot. Hell, let's go 7 foot. 400 pounds of pure muscle. You're not going to outrun this. You're not going to outclimb this. You're not going to outswim this. He's got you within seconds. Their hands, even a juvenile one, are about the size of two catcher's mitts for a pro baseball player. You can't go, oh, I know a dude 6'5", he's got big hands. No. Have you ever seen monkey hands, gorilla hands? Scale that up. It's scary. His hand could palm a watermelon. If this thing grabs you by anything, your shirt, your backpack, your arm, your shoulder, there is no getting away. You're not going to fight it. Don't say you know jujitsu. You are not getting away from a Bigfoot. So, as for your question, why is there no more pictures? Okay, you got a cell phone, you turn around a corner, and here is this thing, and we're going to say that it's a juvenile. You're not making it home. Do you understand? You're not going to escape and tell the tale. Oh, a Bigfoot came for me and I got away, and here's the pictures I got over my shoulder. No. Now, if you know anything about monkey and gorilla type creatures and why you don't want to keep most of them as pets, they are brutal. They don't fight like humans. They don't start punching and throwing bolos most of the time. They rip you limb from limb. They rip your testicles off, they rip your face off, and then they rip your limbs off. OFF. You're not getting hurt. You're not getting a scratch or a bite, although they could. Your limbs are coming off. You are de-limbed. You went in as one piece, and 6 seconds later, you are now in 3, 4, 5, 8 pieces. They can literally rip you in half easily, like you could rip apart a McDonald's hamburger. This is the kind of strength that they have. So why is there not more pictures? Because people that bump into them by luck or diligence are not making it out. Do you understand? There is I really don't want to go into this here on this podcast. There is a famous story, maybe more than one, but one is coming to mind about a guy who was. I'm really going to shorten this. This is a book, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. You could search for this. I don't know what keywords, but anyone internet savvy could find this story in 10 seconds. There was a guy that, for some reason or another, was in the deep woods, came across a Bigfoot. This guy had a camp set up with a tent and, associated gear. And the Bigfoot, while the guy was in his tent, came over and just grabbed the tent like it was a bag, threw it over his shoulder like Santa Claus, and started walking. This guy has written this book in great detail. I don't have a name for you. And what could he do? He had no idea. 1 minute, this dude is chilling in his tent, and now, after the shock wears off, he's being carried. He can hear grunts, he can hear footsteps by something very strong. The smell, overwhelming. In great detail, he talks about being carried, about how far he went, and then he gets put down, essentially. I'm really shortening the story. And he's in, let's call it a cove, made of rock. One way in, that's it, narrow, which is very typical. They like caves and these one-way things for security. And after a couple minutes, the shock wears off. The guy climbs out of his tent, and there's a family of big feet. There's a father, a mother, and a couple of kids of different ages, and they're staring at him. And he details what happens and how long and what went on, and even how he escapes. This particular story is interesting because myself, being trained as a remote viewer, I viewed this case and other very, very famous remote viewers. If you don't know what it is, look it up. This is not hokey pokey gypsy psychic crystal ball. This is actual technology that anyone could learn with a 95 to 99% accuracy of any event, anytime, anywhere, including not on Earth. I'm not going to get into remote viewing here, but you should look into it. This case has been reviewed by quite a few, let's call them famous, military level remote viewers, and found to be a fact. Yes, but in most cases, it seems that they don't let you go if you roll up in their hood. You're getting delimbed. And someone's going to say, but, don't people find the bones? If you've ever seen anything in the woods, I have. It doesn't last very long. If name any creature, a leopard, right? If a leopard dies in a forest or a jungle, ask your question. No, that doesn't apply. If a creature, but it could be anything of any size, dies in the jungle or the deep woods, various bugs and scavengers come by very quickly. Flesh is stripped off the bone very quickly. The bones, if not eaten, which usually are by various bug-type creatures, they dissolve into the soil. It doesn't take many days. You don't find just a body laying there months or years later. Oh, we found him. No. That's assuming that the Bigfoot creatures don't hide or bury things. Now, I know what happens when they die. I'm not going to talk about that here, but that's a fact. So, I know this is a question that I could have talked about for hours. Does that give you any info as to why there's not more pictures? Yeah, they live in the woods and they can hear, see, and smell you at 5 or 10 times the range, even if it was double, that your sensors work at. How does the military find them? Well, I don't want to get shot or worse, but I will tell you a little story. There's something most of you, a piece of technology, don't know about. Some that are maybe in certain militaries or, let's say, government agencies may know about this. Certain polices. There is a piece of technology called a heartbeat detector. They've gotten smaller. But currently, think of a device about the size of a iPhone. It comes in different shapes and sizes, but about like an iPhone. It's self-powered with a currently lithium battery. And this device can pick up heartbeats normally of humans, and it can be directional, meaning you can shoot it in a certain direction, usually in a cone shape, or in a circle, a radius around you. What's your question? Yes, I'm getting to that. Okay, so why? She said, what's the use? So let's say you're an agency and there's some bad guys in a building, but you don't know how many are in there. Is it one bad guy? Is it two? You don't want to send in 5 cops and there's 300 people in this warehouse, all armed, right? You need the information. Now, drones and all of these various techs we have, there's another one I can't talk about, are great out in the open, but they don't do shit usually when people are underground or in buildings. This heartbeat detector has now been implemented in drones and satellites and other things. However, in the early days, not all that long ago, you would go up to a building with this device, and when there was a heartbeat, it would make a little blip. You would see the outline of the building and just blip, 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 blip as hearts beat. And it would track them as they moved around, and you would instantly know how many humans were in there, right? And so you would get a number count and exactly where they were hiding. Imagine having that information. Right, so you could see why various militaries and, let's say, policing agencies, etc., would like to have these heartbeat detectors. Well, like I said, originally they were tuned for humans, the resident frequency of our heart. Now I'm going to have to tell you something hypothetically here to keep myself alive. That's no joke. Let's say, hypothetically, someone on a team in the government will say, whether it's a private corporation who's really the military, but they say they're not, or the actual military wants to find, capture, and study Bigfoot creatures. Well, how do they find them? Some very smart person was just watching TV one day, or maybe talking to a friend who's in another department about these heartbeat detectors and said, Eureka, why don't we just tune them for Bigfoots? They can avoid us, they can smell us, they can hear us, etc. They can run away from us and we'll never find them. Drones are all but useless with cameras because woods are dense and you can't get down low enough, right? And I'm sure there's multiple reasons why FLIR doesn't work. Those of you who know what FLIR is, I'm not going to get into why it may not work on these creatures. That, and they can see it like a spotlight from a mile away and just hide from it. Anyway, let's say hypothetically some propeller head on a Bigfoot team said, why don't we just use these heartbeat detectors and tune them to the resident frequency, the beating of Bigfoot hearts? We could find them in the dark, in the rain, in the snow. There's no hiding for us. from us. And this was done hypothetically. Now it's easy as putting it on a drone or just flying a helicopter over, uh, or a balloon. I won't get into this, various platforms we have, and just turning on the tech and you just find them. It's like radar for big feats. Yes, quite a few were like, well, how does the military get them? Yeah, they were on. How do you know about Plum Island? That's interesting. In Montauk, yeah, there's a new place now that I should not speak about. But that's how this works. So now finding them is really quite easy. Allegedly, I have to say allegedly. What it's 6:30 in the morning, and I have some stuff to do. I have to get tested at a hospital. Um, get ready and shit. Do I have time to answer that? Briefly, these creatures that are 8 foot, the males, 8 to 10 foot tall, and 600 to 1200, maybe a little beefier sometimes, pounds, are now these are definitely 10, 20, or 40 times stronger than a human. There's no doubt about that. They are, if you had a one Bigfoot on a football team and it could be the worst team there was, you'd win every game. If you had one big feet on your basketball team, you could be the Nets and you would win everything. There's no dunking on the Bigfoot. There's no, you know, right. They are the ultimate specimen. They are literally like superheroes compared to us as far as physical stuff. Well, let's say we could learn their language, which they do have. And let's say we could befriend one, or let's say we could convince one, whether it's chemically or electronically, whatever, to fight for us. Could you imagine that? Now, it would be different if it was out in the open or in the city. But in a jungle or a wooded area, maybe not so much the desert, can you imagine this if you have a Bigfoot soldier on your side? No one is getting away. He can creep and sneak up on anyone. Right. One bullet, one round, especially small fire, is not stopping these things. You sneak one in the middle of the night with a Navy SEAL team or a far superior Delta. I don't know why people think SEALs are special. There's tens of thousands of them. Navy SEALs, although some of you think they're badass, they're really not. They're the movie stars of the military world. There's quite a few units that are way, way, way more, as you would call badass, more elite, more capable than SEALs. Delta comes to mind. But there's many you don't hear about in movies and TV shows. But if you sneaked a Bigfoot into a camp, a tent, a building, and just say, smash, everyone's going to die. They won't know what the fuck happened. What if we could hybrid big feet with humans? Could you imagine that? What if we control them with a chip that Elon Musk came up with? Oh, there's some things I can't talk about, but I'd love to. With a neural chip, could you imagine a remote control big feet? From thousands of miles away, imagine controlling a creature that's essentially Superman or Black Adam, that's 10 foot, 1,200 pounds, more athletic than every Olympic athlete combined. Imagine controlling that. How about a dozen of them? Right. I'd like to continue, but I really have stuff to do. It started off about gorillas. Yes, the strength of the, let's call them American West Bigfoots, they're all strong. Even the orang pendek that is, I don't know, 5 foot tall. They're way stronger than humans, way faster, way more athletic in everything. Their dexterity. But the Western American Canadian Bigfoots, they're a terror. They are a cross between a superhero and a nightmare. You certainly don't want to piss one off. And this has happened at logging camps. You could Google this. There's several stories that are confirmed where entire logging towns, where they gather and process wood, have been wiped out by a Bigfoot or maybe his family unit because for some reason we, the humans, piss them off. Normally they stay away, far away, for several reasons, including a treaty. What are you gonna do? It doesn't matter if you have a shotgun in the house. You're asleep. Okay, so you're in a cabin in the woods. There's no help. There's no police. There's no militia, right? You're in a cabin made of probably simple wood, half-assed together, right? Maybe a log cabin, but probably not. And it has windows made of easily shattered glass, right? And it has doors. And you're sleeping at 2 in the morning. Maybe you're exhausted. You're working hard. Maybe you had a couple brewskis, so you're out good. And a 10-foot, 1,200-pound monster decides to roll up. How long do you think it will take? Look at all the criminals on the news, the Dems. You see how fast they can break into secure buildings and loot them? What do you think a superhero nightmare monster can do to an unsecure cabin? You're asleep, you're out, and in 1 second, he is in. Whether he saw you through a window or through his superior smell and hearing, he knows right where you are. Unless you sleep with a a very large caliber pistol under your pillow, right? If you got a gun safe or this is on a rack, which probably is more common in the woods, you're going to have to get to it before he gets to you. Your family is dead, and don't think that a monster, nightmare Bigfoot. Oh, well, he went in my children's room first, right? And he fought with my kids for 5 minutes. I had time to run. No, this is a superhero monster. If it walks into a room with your children, they're dead in 1 second. They can crush them like it's an egg or like you could a White Castle or Crystal hamburger. Just grab it, pops, and there's goo. And then he's off to the next room. And then he sees you and you have no head, you have no arms, maybe he ripped your legs off. God forbid it punched you. It's over. There's no surviving this. They seem to live in family units, not so much a community. You know what I'm saying? There's, it seems, at least in, let's say, our time in 2025, you don't find a cave or one of these coves in a valley, usually with high rocky walls. You don't find three or four, 20 or 50 families living together. They're very spaced. The family bond is strong, but they don't like each other, evidently. I suspect that they respect boundaries. There's a whole way with urine, and if you look into this, they artistically shape trees. They break them and make interesting shapes, which means this is our territory. Stay the fuck away. I don't think there's a lot of encounters where two of them go at it and duel. Yeah, I do soon. Yeah, so the question shouldn't be how many humans to beat a silverback gorilla, a really big, good, strong one. To me, that's not even interesting. And it's not 100, I can tell you that. Do you know how many people 100 people is? Right. Yeah, there's going to be some dead humans. Believe me, 100 people grab a gorilla, his strength is irrelevant. And he can only he has one mouth. Yeah, they bite harder than everything else. Most people don't know gorillas' bite force. It's crazy. It's more than lions and tigers and a lot of sharks, gators, and such. But he only has one mouth, right? And his neck only swivels so much. 100 people are fucking a gorilla up. Now, 100 people versus a mature alpha big feet, well, that's another story if they don't have guns or weapons. This is King Kong, essentially. The question is how much stamina do they have for fighting? Trained humans, although we're not the strongest, we're not the fastest by any means, and we don't do many things good. We do have pretty good endurance if we train for it. There is a lot of various animal creatures and insects, just animals that have tremendous strength compared to us, explosive strength, but they poop out very quickly. You will see nature videos of all kinds of animals way faster running than a human. They can even big fat things, grizzly bears, rhinoceros, hippos, even certain cats, and they can run ridiculous speeds, but after a couple seconds or a minute, 2 minutes in the case of some bears, surprisingly, how long they can run fast. When they're done, uh, there's no 10 seconds and they can go again. They're taking a nap, usually for hours. They don't have the endurance systems that humans have. So, how long is the fight? If you taunted a gorilla creature or a Bigfoot, they can't go for an hour. They're not Ric Flair. They're not a 60-minute man. See, none of you got that one because none of you are wrestling fans. Or maybe even if you watched during the Attitude Era in WWF, now WWE, you remember some 1 hour matches under different names. Sure, Stone Cold, The Rock, and other headliners did these matches. Yes, but these creatures that have this unbelievable burst strength don't have endurance. So could you poop one out? Look, it's the gas tank. It happens in MMA. Somebody said that's not real. It absolutely is. How many times do you see elite athletes in MMA? Even someone said Conor McGregor. Even Conor McGregor. They gas out or adrenaline dump out. They're great for the first round or second round, and then they and it's over. You've seen it and heard it hundreds of times if you're an MMA fan. Even boxing, although less, they're usually in slightly better shape. All right. Anything else before I end this? I don't even know what to call this. I'll cut some of it out because we had a couple hours even before. I'll come over. You'll see it on Boosted Laser. Just looking at the questions. What happened? This is not really about J Mac, and I know he's not going to listen to this. Well, this is another subject I could go on for an hour. He was trying to terrorize me and get me in trouble with YouTube. I'm giving you the really short version. He was trying to get my whole channel removed using a loophole. However, he failed. He did it trying to be a bully and vindictive and a troll, but didn't know how to fill the forms out, which is why I still have no strikes on my account. Simply, my IT guy, my computer guy, Seth, said, dude, there's a three-way thing we can do. Number one, it's basically 2 clicks of a mouse, and I could put all the videos into a backup site. It's literally this easy. This is not thousands of hours of work. It's he just went clickety click. It was under a minute and put a copy of them. Number one. Number two, he put a copy in something called Rumble. For those of you that don't know, it's a smaller YouTube type platform, with the exception of there's no rules. It's the Wild West. It's freedom of speech. You can drop every slur and curse you want and get away with it. So I just simply had him put a copy there. 3, what I did at first as a test was just change so he picked some particular videos trying to frame someone else. And simply, if you just change the name until someone finds that vid under the new name, it's protected, right? That was done, once. But there's even an easier way. Literally, it takes, I'm going to say 5 seconds, because I think it's about 5 seconds. So you go to YouTube. It's literally this easy. You go to YouTube. So he filled out dozens and dozens of these forms trying to get my videos taken down and get strikes against them for various reasons, but filled out incorrectly. It's literally this easy. You go to YouTube. You hit my videos, where it says your videos, and it puts a list up, and there's a little button up top, select all. You don't have to manually click. You hit select all, and then there's a drop down menu, and you can simply put all the videos to private or unlisted, which now protects them. They're still there, but they are either private or they are unlisted. Now, if you know the name of a vid, you can search it if you know how and still find it, even though it doesn't show up normally on YouTube. Like if you go to my channel, most of you may only see 3 or 4 videos, but there's thousands there. Now, people that are trusted, for those vids that are, we'll call them private, it's just a simple password. And if you request it, FastCard gives you the password. Yes, exactly. And you can now watch them, including the good stuff that most people never got to see. I have often spoken about, I don't even really show to the public the good stuff. Right, there's some people laughing. But it was that easy to thwart him. Yeah, I just moved it, or had it moved. It was under a minute. And then you can just simply make it private or unlisted, and it completely foiled him. But I did promise around Christmas I'll have a little present. Wouldn't it be crazy if all the vids he thought got removed, if I put a countdown timer, and then when the time ran out, I just really quick select all vids, turn them from private or hidden back to public for just 5 or 10 minutes to really tease him, and then I just turn him back off. All his talking, all his bragging, all his pet names. Yeah. So anyway, This is not about JMac. Guys, I would like to chat some more, but I do have stuff to do. We're about 7 o'clock now. I could go much deeper in the monkey creatures and the most annoying of all of them. There's actually one monkey ape type creature that triggers fast car. Only actual friends of mine know this, but there is one specific. Oh god, it drives me bananas. Their level of strength and agility makes all the other monkey and ape creatures, they seem like slow, goofy zombies. This one particular one, athletically, what they can do embarrasses humans by 100-fold. Teaser? The gibbon. There's not much that actually triggers fast car. God knows people have tried it on Guild Wars for years and with no luck. There's only a handful of things that trigger me. Watch 5 or 10 videos about a creature called the gibbon. When you see what they can do, it seems like AI. It doesn't seem possible. And this is even compared what normal monkeys and what are those little orange motherfuckers called that look like Clyde from that? Nobody knows who Clyde is from that movie with Clint Eastwood. Any Which Way But Loose. No one here saw that. No one saw those movies. Yeah, orangutan. They're kind of goofy. But when you watch other various spider monkeys and apes and gorillas, all of them, they can swing around in trees and climb around. Yeah, and chimpanzees, and they're awesome. The gibbon embarrasses all of them. Every other monkey and gorilla creature has penis envy. They have gibbon. If I had to come back as an animal, right, reincarnated, it doesn't work like that. But if it did, I absolutely would want to be a gibbon. There's nothing more fun. I think it's better than being winged, being able to fly, which seems like such a cool thing with, wings, I mean. Or levitation, if you know how some bugs work. Don't bumblebees fly, fast car? No, they don't. But you don't know that. Uh, the gibbon, I could do 8 hours on gibbons. All I can say is just search, even if you just do 5 gibbon videos. Gibbons playing, gibbons in a zoo. When you see what it doesn't make sense. You're going to swear it's AI. So look at the dates of the videos and be like, oh, 10 years ago, we weren't doing AI. Yes, they're they're a cross between magic and superheroes. It doesn't. I'm so fired up right now. And before one of you Weisenheimers thinks about it, don't talk about gibbons to me in YouTube. Don't in-game, hey fast car, watch gibbon vids. They're amazing. Do not say anything positive to me about gibbons. I don't want to discuss videos. My blood pressure will go up. I have extreme hate and envy on, on gibbons. Unbelievable. I wish I had one as a pet and a little buddy and friend. Although I'd be jealous of what he could do because I wouldn't be able to follow him anywhere. Okay. It's 2 minutes of 7. I really want to end this. But anyway, this all. Yeah, I'll probably cut an hour of it. And the rest is for you guys. J-Mac's going to say he's scripted. Makes me laugh. It's no skin off my back. I don't actually do it. I have a guy who will put this up for me. Whether it's 30 or 50 people, if a couple of fans are entertained by my cast, that's cool. I don't ask for thumbs up. I don't ask for subs, although there's a bunch. I don't ask for money. Do I have a guesstimate on how big? Again, due to the angle of this shot, you have to understand perspective. I promise you, when you see these influencers, various buff guys, muscle guys, um, on YouTube, for example, and probably social media, but I don't have any. I have zero social media. But when you see them on YouTube, believe me, much like women, they know their good side, they know their bad side, and those with photographers, they understand perspective. They know exactly where to stand, at what height, at what angle, put certain objects in the way to make the target, the buff dude, look bigger, more cut, more gigantic, the arms bigger, the waist smaller. There's a lot of trickery that one can do, not just with lenses, but simply you'd have to learn about perspective. If you don't know, you don't know. But like I said, if the way this is shot, this is unflattering to the monkey creature, the ape, the gorilla here. If this was shot like opposite, like over his shoulder, or an angle more flattering, he would look way bigger. That said, what you can't hide here's this person. I don't remember who this person was. Was this the first maybe woman or small man? Look at this calf. Okay, look at this leg muscle. And look at this bicep. And this is with an unflattering angle and perspective to the monkey creature. Just take this. It's this much of his arm. And this is an unflattering shot. He probably looks half the size that he is. Now, granted, humans are configured differently. Some men have big upper bodies and small legs, a big beer belly or dad bod or whatever you want to call it. But this was a fairly large man when he was standing up. Could he have a giant upper body and, you know, cartoonishly small legs? But look at his calf. Look at his thigh. Here's his thigh compared to this monkey thing's arm. Right? Look at his knee joint compared to the head. And this is not a great angle. This is a massive, massive monster. I looked it up. I had no idea that gorillas could bite that hard. Yeah, probably most people don't know. I don't remember the numbers because it was years ago when I really looked into them, but I think they outbite lions, tigers, crocodiles, like certain sharks, like the bites that a large gorilla can do. And keep in mind the tests that we do. If you know how it's done, we basically throw a device, a rubber tube with a sensor in it at the gorilla. We slap it in his face a few times and put it near his mouth and they bite it. But that doesn't necessarily mean he bit as hard as possible. Do you know what I'm saying? If we put a thing in your mouth but didn't say anything and you bit down on it, did you bite 20%, 50, 100 straining? So we really don't know the maximum bite of a gorilla. It can be calculated by the muscle and leverage and all of these things, but I suspect the actual physical number of the bite force is even more than they say, only because they kind of relate the way the muscles are attached and etc. to other creatures. For example, a great cat, let's say, whatever, a leopard, even a tiger, a lion. But even though those are much stronger than humans, they don't have gorilla strength. You know what I'm saying? If you took a tiger that bit so many pounds per square inch and then gave him gorilla muscles, he would bite twice as hard, 5 times as hard. Right. These things are terrifying. Is there anyone? This dude wrote, could John Jones or anyone take a silverback one on one? No. Here's what would happen with skinny John Jones, even as a heavyweight. John's a tall boy. He's a pretty big boy. What's he, 6'4", 6'5"? I think he's in there. When he's fat and in fighting shape, what's he around? 240? 240? Let's even go 250. But, he's fat. At that weight, he has a little belly, right? The gorilla is 6'5", 400 to 600 pounds. Faster, 10 to 20 times stronger. And you think he has good reach? How long do you think the reach is of a 6'5" gorilla? They have way longer arms than humans. There's John Jones could do nothing. From 1 to 100, how much damage could he cause? 0. Even if he tried to do his basically knee kick that he does, the gorilla's arm is longer than Johnny Bones' leg. As John tried to kick the knee of the gorilla, this hand would come out and it's over. Whether he grabbed an arm, his chest, his face, he would be dead in under a second. John Jones would, despite what, don't say Bruce Lee, don't. Bruce Lee was 100. It was a movie star, not a fighter, and he was 129 pounds. Don't. The Bruce Lee. That's something else that triggers fast car. People that talk about Bruce Lee like he was something. He was a movie star. That's it. Their muscles are attached differently than humans. You'd have to understand what that means at a high level. But all, I would have to do another video about humans versus monkeys, and I could tell you something that would change your life. Really. I could link you one video that would change everything to you. Right. I'm not going to talk about it because it will be hours. Um, but yes, they're, like I said, even at a very, if you've ever played with a monkey, which I have in different countries, their strength is not even like a cute little spindly 35-pound thing that looks like a stuffed animal with, for their size, their arms, their forearms and stuff are relatively big, but they're not bigger than humans, a 35-pound monkey creature. The strength they have is unbelievable. If it grabs something, you're not getting it back. I'm not getting it back for them. If they put a small monkey creatures, somebody just asked something that's close to my heart because I arm wrestle. Yes, Devin Larratt and even Levon would have no chance. It doesn't matter how much drugs. See, most of you don't know who this is, and what's he talking about? Yes, Levon, the quote greatest arm wrestler who's ever lived due to drugs. Uh, and he's 400, 430 pounds usually when he competes. All juiced up with his 24, 25-inch arms, the whole thing. A monkey creature half his weight would arm wrestle him right down. And they don't train for it. They don't have arm wrestling technique. They don't know a top roll from side pressure. And they would put him right down. It wouldn't be a struggle. It wouldn't be. It would be right down. Bang. What the fuck just happened? And that's a 200-pound monkey creature. If you put a silverback in there, yeah, Levant, it's, first of all, the monkey, and even at probably 200 pounds, when you just gripped up, when your arms are straight up and down, like in referee position, these monkey creatures, their hands are so strong that the fingers, they can just pop your hand. They can just squeeze and you hear pop pop, and all of your whole hand, all your fingers, the whole structure of your hand is broken. It's dust. I don't mean a crack or a broken finger. It's powder. No coming back. Your hand is like this if it was a sound. Blah, 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 flopping around. So there's no beating a monkey or a gorilla type creature in arm wrestling, even near human size. Not to mention, without going into arm wrestling physics, the size of the hand um, is very important. Big hands in arm wrestling. And monkey creatures have significantly bigger hands than humans. Double, triple. Somebody said Brock Lesnar is a 5X glove. Monkey creatures have 20, 30X gloves. You listen, I want to end on this because I really got to go. I don't want to, but uh, when I saw what I will, the last time, I think it was it called the San Francisco Zoo? It was in Cali. I think it was called the San Francisco Zoo several years ago. Somebody could correct me. Of course, they had various monkey and gorilla exhibits. They had a window similar to this, and gorilla creatures, lowland gorillas and whatever, doing gorilla things, the habitat that you would see at a zoo. And a couple came over. First, it was some girls and children came over to the window to look at all us humans in a group like this. And they were this close, and I was up on the window flexing, trying to show them who was boss. I flexed biceps and my chest, etc. Most muscular. Couple ran away, a couple cheered. Real recognized real. And then Daddy showed up. And again, this was not a top 10 or 20 or 50 silverback. He was average. He was an average, typical. If it was a human, he would be 5'10", 200 pounds, 180 pounds. So this was not a nightmare monster. He was still a night. When he rolled up, I went, oh. No, I was flexing, and of course I was cut at the time, and Tan and Sun Woman said, I said something about my arms. She said, you have bigger arms than that gorilla. He's all fur, like my cat. Or somebody else said his dog, and I said, no, 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 no. While there is a little bit of hair, what you called fur, this is not 5 inches thick. This is a gigantic, dude, again, this was not a roided up freak. Look, there's a big example between Shaq and you. You're both humans, but he is top of the food chain. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right, and you may be a workout guy at 5'10", 200 pounds with abs. You're not Mr. Olympia or even Chris. What's his name? What is Bumstead? Yeah, they're juiced up. I'm just saying. The size, I have fairly big forearms. I'm a big dude, and I've trained them for many years. The forearm on this average gorilla made me instantly, I thought, all of those tens of thousands of hours of sleeping and missing out on parties and protein drinks and all of the current pills and powders and all of the 90 eggs a week and the pounds of chicken, pounds of fish and red meat, and perfect workouts and keeping track with a notebook, eventually a computer. All of it was a complete waste of time. If I lived with monkeys, they would call me skinny. They would say the ultimate insult, which we use here. Whenever anyone asks how they look, they could be on all the juice in the world. Hey man, someone leaves and they show up months later, 100 pounds bigger. How do I look? You want to know what we all answer? Like a swimmer. There's no better insult to a workout guy to tell him that or long. You look long. That's what monkeys would say about fast car. You've seen my picture. You know how jacked I am. I got 21 to 23-inch arms, depending on my weight. They would call me skinny. And if Fishmonger is watching me, they'd call me skindery. Shout out to Warg. He's laughing if he's watching this. He did. So, and well, I didn't. I've talked about my meeting with Big Feet in real life, which I'm not going to do now. I just don't have the time. But when I saw this average silverback gorilla, he just perfectly put his hand on the glass flat with his fingers kind of splayed out, and I put my hand on the glass at 6'9", with, I'll say I have an average hand at my height. I think pro basketball players have bigger hands, but it's still big. And it made my hand look like you know, a 10-year-old's hand or an 8-year-old. I was just like, how are his fingers 4 or 5 inches longer than mine? How is like the width? I'm talking about like the palm. How is it double as wide? Their thumbs are kind of weird. They're not, it's hard to explain. They're not, their hand isn't exactly the same as ours. The thumb is in a different position, I would call it. But his hand was like twice the size of mine. And this was an average silverback. And the fingers, oh my God. Besides being leathery and armored looking, look like leather. The thickness of the. I can't even explain to you. Like, the thickness, again, average silverback. The thickness of his fingers was like some of your wrists. So look at your wrist and go, wait, a finger can't be that big. Yeah, they can. We are nothing in the animal community. We're very lucky that we live in cities and buildings and clearings. If there was half, if there was as a third as many Bigfoots as there are humans, we would not be the top species here. They would have taken us over a long time ago. A quarter of them, probably 1/10 the amount. Or even this type of silverback gorilla, if there was just, millions of them, we would be taken over like in those movies, but for real. There's no, there's only so many guns and rounds and bullets, and not everyone has them. If you went to a large mall and released 50 big, angry, peak of life silverback gorillas in a mall on a Friday at 8 o'clock, those that didn't escape quickly, everybody's dead. There's arms and legs and heads everywhere. It's a bloodbath. And scale that even more for Big Feet. Yeah. Well, now instantly, uh, it'll get a copy right onto Rumble and my backup, but I'll probably leave this up just to annoy JMac, regardless of what forms he fills out. Yes, I'll close on that thought. Like I said, I really gotta go. Assuming this guy is 5'9" to 6 foot, even though his legs look really skinny, he's gonna have a size 10 to probably 12 shoe unless he's a mutant. Keep in mind this perspective is biased towards the humans, meaning he looks half the size. Look at his foot, right? Look, take your sneaker off and look in the mirror next to your arm and see what his sneaker looks like, tennis shoe, whatever, next to your basketball shoe, sorry. Let's say, right? Now, unless you're me, a shoe is going to be much bigger than your arm. Look at this shoe compared to this thing's gun. Look at this shoe. Hold a man's size 10 to 13 Jordan. Hold that up next to your head in a mirror. Look at his foot next to this thing's cranium. You see what I'm talking about? You can't scale. Oh, I know a really big guy. He works out. No, these are different. Yes, that's a good. Humans are Assurans, and gorillas are Char, and big feets are Norn, men, the biggest possible. It's you can't compare it. Like in the same way, you can't say, "Dude, I seen Shaq. He's like the tallest guy ever." He's not. There's people that make him look short, but Shaq is, tremendously tall. Put Shaq in a zoo with um, giraffes. They're gonna call him a midget. Have you ever stood next? That's another thing that's it. When you're my size, you're bigger than everyone you come across your whole life, more or less. When you go to a zoo and you see a giraffe, you're like, wow, they're laughing at me. They're just look at this mini me. They think that I'm mini me. I'm like, do you know who I am, giraffe? No. In our world, you're a pygmy. You're an ant. By the way, no one was harmed during the making this video, and if you're watching this Fast Cat, I did not giggle at any point. Do not post giggle cat. I don't think she watched, certainly not this long. Fast Car, what's a giggle cat? Well, only a few people know. Yes. What's on my face? I don't know. Oh, this is something you rarely see. You're looking at the cam. My fast car very rarely doesn't shave. Why does it look brown? I don't know. I had a girlfriend that used to tease me. I'm blonde and blue. I'm pretty much hairless. And for some reason, my whole life since the beginning, my face hair comes in red. It's not even brown. I'll get close to the cam. I am blonde and blue to the core. Why it comes in red, I have no idea. I have little light arm and leg hairs. I don't have any on my ass or anywhere else. Just they're all bleach blonde. And for some reason, yeah, I could go to the side here. I have no, it's not dyed. Why would I dye it red? You would think I was a ginger. But yes, I am going to shave before I go to the hospital for testing. Blood test, something, I don't know the full name, called the Doppler test. They want to make sure that I have no blood clots head to toe from my various injuries. In this case, about 3 months ago, for those of you that remember. They don't suspect, but they just want to check. They're going to be doing a standard x-ray of a bone that got damaged during that battle to put me in the hospital. I'm not going to get into a whole medical thing, but they're going to be doing just a classic x-ray. As far as I know, that's it for today. And I'm going to get a treatment. Only because someone asked who's an RN. And congratulations, I know you used to be an LPN. You are now a full nurse, and that's very impressive. Thank you for serving. You're an unsung hero. I'm not going to get into this here. There's going to be a lot of questions. Uh, when was it? Last Monday. Last Monday, I had a bone fall out of my body. I'm not going to go into it because this sounds weird. Not a boner. Imagine this is not how it happened. Just taking your hand right now and kind of shaking it around like you got pins and needles and you're trying to bring it back to life. Imagine doing that. Shake your hand, and then a finger bone just falls out. That's not exactly what happened, but a bone, specifically a piece of bone, just fell out of my body in front of the doctor onto the floor. Yes, while he was looking at something. We're just doing whatever doctors and nurses do, and then we hear clunk, and he's like, "There's some of your bone just laying on the floor." My body ejected bone, which they sent to a lab, and they will have results when I go in today. The helicopter will grab me at about 9:15 my time, and I should be home by 11 unless I get admitted or there's other tests or complications. That's another video. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. You get to see some fun pictures, meet a few people. I'll cut the monkey part out for Boosted Laser and my other channels. If people liked it, I could cut more. You know, the Guild Wars people, it's, let's be honest, a lot of drunks and potheads and silly, trolly kids that have nothing going on in Cheeto fingers who are not interested in podcasts and interesting things. They just care about weed. Yeah. Look, I've talked about vaginas and men and women. If somebody gives me a subject I'm interested in, I would speak on it. I might even normally I don't connect these discords or streams. I could my computer guy knows how to do it. I used to back in the day go on toxic Discord and other discords, and I would patch the audio right in. But you get a lot of dumb kids, and surprising, so 98% of people are quiet. All the biggest mouths in the game, when you put a live mic on, they suddenly shut up. They can type and type and type. You'll never hear JMac talk for two reasons. One, he has no tongue, but. All right, I really gotta go.